Back home in Olympia has orchestrated an unprecedented move in local soccer, with the Warriors stealing a fellow NPL club's coach of less than 3 months from right under its nose. Ian Shaw has agreed to a 2-year deal at the defending champions, forcing the Lions to make a change at the top for the second time this season. Today's announcement was all Greek.
Προπονητής της Ολύμπιας θα είναι ο κύριος Ian Shaw από την Gold Coast, Queensland.
But try telling that to Kingborough. Shaw joined the Lions in May, and even with the ink still drying on his contract, he's been poached by Olympia.
His previous club scouted him, did the due diligence, did a good job in finding him, brought him to Tasmania, and pretty much all we had to do was talk to him, so it was an easy thing to do.
And despite leaving the Lions in the lurch, he's making no apologies.
Players swap clubs, get offers, move clubs. You can apply the same standard to coaches. It happens all around the world.
After resigning from Kingborough's top job yesterday, Shaw himself flew out of the state this morning.
He had nowhere to live after he left the other club. We discussed the possibility of him staying on for a couple of weeks, and at the end it was just easy for him to hop on a plane and go back home.
When contacted by Win News this afternoon, the new Warriors coach declined to comment, saying he needed a few days to gather his thoughts.
If you look at the options that are in Tasmania, he was an obvious candidate.
Mamarcus wouldn't comment on the package Shaw has been offered.
Suffice to say that he may be one of the highest paid coaches in Tasmania.
And that's partly thanks to Mamarcus himself, who continues to help fund the Warriors.
What the club can't afford to do, I do, and I'm quite happy to do it, and I'll continue to do it. It's one of the joys I have in my life.
He says the club pays a combined total of between $30,000 and $50,000 a season to its players and coaches.
I don't see why that's important. Why is that important to how much I toss in? I might toss in the whole lot. I might toss in double that this year.
If this story wasn't incredible enough already, coincidentally the Warriors play an away match against Kingborough this weekend.
Well, I've asked FFT to supply me security, but maybe that won't be necessary. I have nothing to hide, it's all out there. I've got some good friends down at Kingborough, and whether they still are good friends, we'll find out. But
Kingborough was contacted for a response but didn't return our calls.
Make no mistake, we're not around to make up the numbers. In 2017 we want to win the title.
A war of words has erupted between two NPL clubs following an explosive week in local soccer. At a media conference this morning, Kingborough returned fire at Olympia after their coach of less than 3 months defected to the Warriors, signing a lucrative deal for season 2017. To make this story even more juicier, the two clubs meet tomorrow to kick off round 17 of the competition. On Wednesday, Olympia President George Mamarcus made no apologies for stealing Kingborough's new coach.
We sort of had sensed a few things were going on there in the background.
And today, the Lions hit back.
I think we've all come to understand how Olympia operates in this space, so I'm rarely surprised. I think it is a little disappointing that a club with those resources isn't out there on the mainland actually doing their own scouting and doing what we did and bringing some new fresh air into Tassie.
The Warriors offered Ian Shaw a deal too good to refuse.
Any professional coach would be mad not to accept if he's prepared to live in that environment and breathe that environment.
Mamarcus admitted earlier this week that Olympia pay up to $60,000 each year to its players and coaches.
I would be surprised if that was George's bottom line. They haven't beat any of the teams above them, so here are two clubs, us and them. Same situation, but our journey in a business sense has been a lot shrewder.
He says sometimes it isn't all about money.
How hard is it for a player at Olympia in their youth system to get into their first team if the club's approach is to buy in players? We have a very different culture. We are more about, in my mind, football. Yes, we want results, and we will get those results, but we will never do it by skinning and purchasing players and coaches in that manner.
In his 9 matches in charge of the Lions, Shaw's record was 3 wins and 6 losses.
A couple of those results I think we should have got over the line with, and I'm still scratching my head to think how we didn't win those games. So it'll be very interesting to see how they fare next year. I mean, every point Olympia wins is a very expensive point.
The week's events may kickstart a big rivalry between the two clubs.
Maybe George would like to spend some money buying a nice big trophy.
And they'll get their first crack at each other when they clash in round 17 of the NPL tomorrow afternoon at Lightwood Park.
We've even got the deep fryer going now down at the Den, so we're quite happy for them to come along and buy some chips and spend their money.
Kick-off is at 2 o'clock, and if the Lions win,
That'd be pretty sweet. Pretty sweet.